Angry Guy here, and today we're discussing how MGTOW lost its way. I need to cue the intro, don't I? Cue the intro. Like, share, and subscribe for more great Angry Guy content, and turn on notifications to never miss another Angry Guy video ever again. Guys, there's a lot to unpack here in this video. How MGTOW lost its way. So, for those of you that don't know, there is a MGTOW. I don't really even want to call him that, but that's what he is. Because MGTOW has changed so much. His name is Hammerhand, and he has released a post about me, and he'll even drop a video about me. This is a guy who has been harassing me for a number of years. And this is what he has to say. He says, "This effing huckster is a user of men who has had," let me try to read that carefully, is a user of men who has had, says something like 3 different identities in 5 years. Don't fall for it again. And basically post a link about me, about a video related to me, and also links to my video, The Return of Angry MGTOW. Guys, I want to talk to you about these people. I want to talk to you about guys like him. I want to talk to you about the MGTOW movement. When I helped establish MGTOW, I was one of the first MGTOWs on YouTube, and I helped establish this community. I was for quite some time the face of MGTOW. I was the most visible face in the manosphere representing MGTOW. And I always said that, I'm only a small part of MGTOW because MGTOW is decentralized. MGTOW is a group of men who are choosing to go their own way and focus on themselves and find their own happiness. And MGTOW is a philosophy. And then things changed. You had a group of these men, really radical men, like radical feminists, that came into the community, and it completely upheaved everything. Guys like Hammerhand MGTOW. All right, I'm surprised this guy still has a channel on YouTube because this guy has spread so much hate. I literally have a video of this guy telling men that we're gonna have to start doing certain unaliving. I mean, this is a very violent guy. This is a very, very violent guy. And you have to really know that MGTOW was never, ever designed for this. MGTOW was about men focusing on themselves. MGTOW was about men finding peace in their own lives. MGTOW would never risk their livelihood. They would never spread hate. They would never spread fear because they had no value in their lives. The MGTOW monks would often say, they would often warn that you should never develop hatred. Because if you hate something, that means you still love it. And the ultimate thing you can really do is to develop indifference. Because when you don't care about someone, or you're indifferent to something, it means you don't care one way or another. And that's what the monks would say. All right? And I'm the one who actually coined the term MGTOW monk. MGTOW monk, MGTOW hermit. And it's crazy because a lot of those guys are now gone. A lot of the old monks are gone. And instead, we have guys like this that took over the community, guys like Hammerhand, and they spread hate. And they spread division. MGTOW was literally a philosophy of men going their own way. And it was like Bitcoin. There was no one that owned the label. And then you had guys like this one guy named Elite, Mr. Elite, saying shit like hold the line. Like, what do you mean hold the line? There's no line. Back when we started MGTOW, back when it was just like a handful of us, like there was literally a handful of MGTOWs on YouTube, like Barbarossa and Stardust. Like there was just a few of us, and we used to like meet in Google Hangouts, and we would just hang out, and we would talk and reflect on things. One of my friends that's not around anymore, he would say, he'd go, Angry, there's no level 9,000 to this shit. These guys seem to think that they're leveling up. Like, oh, I'm going level 9,000. Like Vegeta would go, I'm going level 9. Like he's above level 9,000 in Dragon Ball Z. And there's no level 9,000. you know, this whole different stages of MGTOW, like you're leveling up, going into monk mode. No, going monk was a choice. There was no, you're going through these different stages and now you're going to graduate to monk. There was no graduating to monk mode. Going monk was a choice. It was not something chosen out of hatred. It was literally men who just decided that they were just walking away from it all, and they were choosing to live these lives. Okay, but the monks did not hate women. The monks were very, very far away from that. They just didn't want to be bothered with the general day-to-day bullcrap anymore. Most of the monks, and this is what's going to surprise a lot of men. Most of the monks are men who had previously been married, and they were men who had children, and they had long relationships with women. These were men who had long relationships with women, and they had made the decision that they no longer wanted that lifestyle, and they were now opting out entirely of dating and relationships. But that was their own personal choice. Okay, that was not like a different stage of MGTOW. Like, oh my gosh, I'm going to work hard, and if I work hard enough, I'm going to become a monk. No, that's literal nonsense. MGTOW, back when MGTOW started, these were men who were really successful women. MGTOWs were good-looking guys. MGTOW were men that were who can get laid, but they were choosing. They were saying, you know what, dating and relationships right now, dating and marriage. Oh, let me correct myself. Marriage was too risky at the time, but men were still dating. And they were saying that marriage is too risky, so we're not going to marry or we're not going to have children. But dating was still on the table. If you wanted to date, you could still date, although dating was becoming a bit risky at that point because you guys were looking around and saying, what the hell are we doing? But at the same point, guys would go out and they would still date if they chose to. They'd still have girlfriends. They'd still get laid, and there were also MGTOWs who would choose to go and have a relationship with sex workers. And that was fine, but it was not a gender separatist movement. It was not something where you're like, oh, I'm not talking to the girls. I'm afraid to talk to girls. It wasn't anything like that. It was just basically men saying, you know what, we're doing our own thing, and that's that. And now look at what MGTOW has become. You go over to Wikipedia, and what is MGTOW defined as? Let's look at this. All right, it's advocating for men to separate themselves from women and from society, which they believe has been corrupted by feminism. So this is basically MGTOW 3.0, men separating themselves socially, financially, and economically from women and the state. Okay? And it's a movement. MGTOW is a movement now. It is a movement. It is no longer a philosophy. It is a movement. And it is shocking. It is absolutely shocking. Because MGTOW was always a philosophy. It was always a philosophy. And it's absolutely sad what they've done to MGTOW and what they've turned it into. Okay? I mean, if you look at the incels, the incels actually consider MGTOW a part of the incel community. And you're like, what? Yeah, check that out. They basically said that MGTOWs are vol cells, voluntary celibate, right? and it's a Volcel movement consisting of a collection of forces dedicated to male separatism, anti-feminism, and anti-gynocentrism. In other words, it is a movement against feminism, and in theory, against long-term relationships with women. It is believed, yeah, and again, dude, guys, movement. It is believed that most MGTOWs are coping celibates, especially those in monk mode. Coping celibates. Besides promoting Volseldom, voluntary celibate, being a voluntary celibate, more astute adherents of monk mode MGTOWs are also promote the avoidance of free mixing generally. Free mixing. To free mix is to socialize and mingle with a member of the opposite sex. Increasingly, Western men and even men across the globe are shying away from free mixing with women due to the uneven power distribution in the court of law that favors women. Avoidance of free mixing can be a useful defense. Guys, free mixing, okay? And now this goes on to say, however, one does not need to be celibate to be a MGTOW, with many MGTOWs consorting with prostitutes or claiming to engage in non-committal sexual relationships with women. But a lot of MGTOWs today are now, and this is the guy that we was called Fat MGTOW. She actually reached out to me a number of years ago, and that's Lauren Southern interviewing him. I told you guys, like, I go so far back in this thing. I mean, it's just a freaking joke. It's just a freaking joke. And you know, it's so funny because they list some notable MGTOWs. Like, these guys are not notable MGTOWs. All right, these guys are not notable MGTOWs. The only real MGTOWs that should be on here are Barbarossa, Stardust. I don't want myself on here because, like, I dropped the community because when MGTOW became toxic, I dropped the label, just like many others have done over the years. And it's absolute nonsense. It's absolute nonsense what the community has become. And that's why, guys, I promote men walking away now. That's a movement that I've created, and that's something that's been happening even before I created the label. It's something that's been happening for a number of years. Men walking away, right? Men walking away. And it's been happening for a number of years. It's a phenomena of men walking away from society. Men are tired of the nonsense. Men are tired of the bull crap, and men are walking away from Western society and Western women. But they're not giving up on women entirely. If they want a woman, they're going overseas, the countries like the Philippines, the countries like Latin America, and South America, and Eastern Europe, where men are still valued and revered, and they're finding wives over there, and they're starting new lives over there. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. MGTOW was never about male separatism. It was never about men completely cutting themselves off from women. It was about men saying that there's a problem with society today, and it's too dangerous for men to get married. It's too dangerous for men to have children. But we're not. But we don't. There's no hatred towards women. There's no goal of if with MGTOW. With MGTOW, you have to understand these are men who wanted to have children, but they looked around and said, you know what? Right now, it's not a good time. These are men who would prefer to have relationships with women. They'd prefer to have a girlfriend. They'd prefer to date. They'd prefer to have someone to sleep next to them at nighttime. All right. But they looked around and they said, you know what? It's not a good situation. And I'm gonna be cautious right now. But MGTOW was never a male separatist movement. And then it went down this path where you have guys like, if you're walking down the street and you see a woman coming in the opposite direction, cross the street, cross the street, cross the road. Or if you go into a store and there's only a female cashier in there, and you can't use self checkout, leave the store. If you go to the hospital and the only people there that can help you are women, leave the hospital. Like, bro, like, these guys have lost their complete and utter minds. They've lost their complete and utter minds, and you can't live a life like this where you're spending most of your life trying to avoid women. I'm not telling you to go out there and to get married. I'm not telling you to go out there and have children. Men are dropping out of society. But what I call it is MWA, men walking away from society and Western women. And men walking away from society and Western women is Western society and Western women is basically just that. You have men who've stopped working entirely, and they're basically sitting at home playing video games and watching television. You have men who are only working the bare minimum to survive. So they might pick up some consulting work, Uber, do some Uber deliveries or whatever, but they're only working just enough to survive, and they're happy with their PS5, flat screen television, and a place to sleep. That's really it. That's really it. They're living their lives. They're living their best lives because men don't need a lot to survive. But they don't have any animosity towards women. They're just looking at the current nature of women and they're saying, enough's enough. I don't want to participate in this. I'm not going to be bothered. I'm not going to be bothered with this. You also have the passport bros, which are a subsect of men walking away. And these men are saying, well, we do want to have relationships. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk away entirely from Western society. So we're going to go overseas. So we're going to go to countries like the Philippines or South America or Latin America or Eastern Europe, where you have women who have traditional values that still like to cook and clean and want to take care of men and want to raise children. And we're going to start families there. We're going to purchase homes there. We're going to or rent homes there, and we're going to get married, and we're going to have children there, and we're going to set up. And this is what's happening. And lots of men have done this, and it's happening for a great while now, but it's beginning to accelerate. And I think we're going to begin to witness a lot of brain drain in the United States as more and more men are just dropping out of society right now, dropping out entirely. I mean, Milo Yiannopoulos called it the Sexodus years ago, and it's really where things are going. But the men going their own way, these guys they don't represent the average man. The average man does not hate women. The average man is just pissed off with the bullshit that's happening in society, and they don't want to be a part of it anymore. And they realize that Western society has become toxic. And so they're walking away. They are walking away. But this thing about going your own way is like we're going our own way together. That's absolute bullshit. You cannot tell a man how to walk away. If you live in America, if you live in the West, because not every woman in the West is terrible. If you live in the West and you're with a woman who realizes that American values have gone to absolute hell, but you're with a good woman in America, you can walk away with her. You can walk away with her. Okay? The problem is just that most women in America today have chosen to embrace feminism instead of embracing femininity. They've cast away their femininity and they've chosen to go down this path of being career driven women. And, they've also embraced promiscuity. So they have extremely high body counts. And men don't want that. American men, Western men don't want that. You also have to consider that over 80% of women today only find 1% of men attractive in the West. Over 80% of women today find only 1% of men in the West as attractive. So most women don't find most men attractive. So so you've got lots of men who are handsome, who are tall, who are educated, and women don't find these guys as attractive anymore because they have so many options. You can have a guy who is 6'3", handsome, highly educated, makes over $100,000 a year, and women will not pay this guy attention. All right, he's fit, he's young, he has everything that you would think a woman would want in a man, and they don't pay this guy attention. Why? Because they have too many options. They have too many options, and society has a very negative view on men today. Is this guy bitter? No. He just leaves. He just left the United States, went overseas, found himself a beautiful Filipina, and is living his best life. And you have men who are doing this. They're going over to Eastern European countries. They're finding themselves beautiful Eastern European women, and they're living their best lives over there. These are not men that hate women. These are men that are choosing to just walk away from Western society. Let's stop bullshitting and let's stop pretending that if it wasn't for the way society is today, men would not be more than happy to have men would not be more than happy to have a relationship, or to men would not be more than happy to have a relationship. Men would not be more than happy to date. Men would not be more than happy to would not be more than happy to even marry. Yes, marry, if it was not for the government, for the way women are in society today, the way men are treated in society. But let's make this very clear that it was never about having animosity towards women. It was never about men hating women. It was never about men wanting to separate themselves from women because, oh, man is good, women is bad. That's no, no, no. It was never about that. It was men looking at society and saying, you know what? Things are going downhill right now. You look at things like hashtag Me Too and all these Twitter movements that were anti-male, and men realized, you know what? The writing is on the wall, and this is not a good idea for us to start laying down, trying to lay down roots. The court systems are against us. Society is against us. We need to we need to really rethink things. And when you think about it, men walking away is the evolution of that. Walking away from Western society and focusing on what works. If you're going to stick around in the United States, well, guess what? Actually focus on yourself, all right? Actually focus on yourself and what makes you happy. Don't focus on becoming, if you want to make a lot of money, go and make a lot of money, all right? Or if you want to live a simple life, live a simple life. There's a lot. If you're not getting married and you're not having children, then guess what? A lot of guys can live well on $15,000 a year. You're like $15,000 a year. If you're living at first off, a lot of men should not be leaving their mother's house. A lot of men should not leave their parents' house. If you are a single man, just to make it very clear, if you're a single man and you can live at home, okay, you have no business leaving your parents' house. You have zero business. Because most of y'all aren't getting laid. Most of y'all are like, oh, well, I like the option of being able to take a girl back to. She's not going back to your place. You fool. You're not taking any girls back to your place. A lot of guys get caught up in that trap, like, oh, I can't bring a woman back to my. Y'all are like that's so nonsensical. If you want to hook up with a girl, y'all can rent a motel room, get a hotel room, all right. It's. I'm so serious. You get a hotel room for the evening. You go to the hotel room, do your thing, and then because guess what? Chances are you'll never see that girl again. Because most girls that do these things, they don't view guys like the guys that they hook up with as guys as potential partners. All right, they view them as fuck boys. They view them as fuck boys. Like, oh, yep, I just fucked this fuck boy, and I'm gonna move on to another one. Because that's how women operate today. They go from one guy to the next guy to the next guy to the next guy. All right? It's literally just like that. You got your turn, now move on. She doesn't want to see you again. All right? She's not going to respond to your text messages unless you did something really exceptional in bed. Unless you made her go like 3 or 4 times, then no. You're not going to hear from her again. You had your turn, now move on. And that's really how it is today. All right? So a lot of guys are like, oh, I don't have a place. I want to have a place where I can bring girls. You're not bringing girls back to your place. 99% of the time, you will never see her again or hear from her again. If you got her phone number, took her out, chances are, if she didn't hook up with you on the first date, she's not hooking up with you at all. All right, most of the time, if she didn't hook up with you on the second date, she's definitely not hooking up with you unless she's trying to play you, unless she's trying to string you along and force you into a relationship and then marriage. Because now she's at a point in her life where she's already gone through Chad, she's already gone through Tyrone. She has a body count in the hundreds, and now she's trying to get force you into a relationship. All right, after she's had all her fun, that's a whole different story right there. You don't want to be that guy. Don't want to be that guy because now that's the whole plan. That's when you're basically the plan B guy. That's what women do, and then usually what ends up happening is she's playing that game with you where she's like trying to force you into a relationship while she already has she has like her fuck boys out there that she's working with on the side, so she has her needs being met while you're basically just sitting there beating off at home. So you don't want to be in that situation. But men who are awake are like, yeah, you know what? I'm not going to put myself in that situation. All right. It's going to be either me and my PS5. I'm going to sit home, play my PlayStation 5. I'm going to live my life. I'm not going to go out and waste a ton of money on rent. If I can stay home and live with mom, live at home, I'm going to stay at home. All right. And I'm going to save all of my money. If I'm making $40,000 a year and I'm living at home, all of that money is going in the bank. Think about it carefully. After I buy my PS5, after I buy my gaming PC, you know, what else am I spending money on? I've got my bedroom. I've got all my shit there. What am I spending money on? All right? Internet, cell phone. A lot of guys today don't even waste money on cell phones. A lot of these guys, I found like some guys making like 100 grand a year, like making crazy amounts of money that use Mint Mobile because they're not paying T-Mobile prices. You heard me right. I've discovered so many men that are on the $15 a month Mint Mobile plan because they are not paying T-Mobile prices, and they are very happy with Mint Mobile. So I'm thinking to myself, like, oh my gosh, y'all are really out here spending $180 a year on cell phone, all right? And spending $180 a year on cell phone for their cell phones. That's not even $200 a year. And they have their Netflix subscription, and they don't need, and they've got their PlayStation 5. They got their PlayStation 5. They've got their gaming PC. Maybe they have a Steam Deck. Maybe not. Doesn't matter. Some guys have a Switch. Whatever. They have what they want, and they're just chilling. And whatever money comes in, that money is going into the bank because they have no other expenses. Some of these guys aren't even paying for food because they're living at home, so they're getting their meals from mom. All right, and that's smart. That's smart. You have no business as a man. You have no business as a grown man being out there on your own, wasting money if you can stay at home and live with your parents. I'm just being so honest with y'all. Because that's how it used to be in many countries, in most countries. And then this nonsense like, oh, I'm a bachelor, I'm a big bad bachelor. That's absolute bunch of freaking foolishness. And if you are living on your own, you need to be living in the basics. You should be renting a room. You should be renting a room and spending as little as possible. Maybe $500 a month. You should. I'm telling you all the truth. You should be living as cheap as possible. You shouldn't be worrying about women in America. And that's what's happening with a lot of men right now who have completely who've walked away. By walking away, they're not worrying about trying to make a woman happy in America, trying to buy her, try to make sure that they can have a woman who can spend tens of thousands of dollars on nothing. you know. And if they do go overseas, if they do want a woman, they go overseas and they go to the Philippines, where you have women who are happy to have just a roof over their head, clothing over their backs, and food, and they live well. You go over to the Philippines, you can rent a house for like $200 a month. You can rent a decent sized house for like $200 a month. 200. All right? You pay very little for internet, very little for water. Okay? So you pay very little for utilities. You rent yourself a nice house. You have your internet. You have everything that you need. Everything that you need. Okay? You have your flat screen televisions, you have your own office, all right, where you work, because a lot of guys do that now. They go to the Philippines or they work or another country and they work from anywhere in the world. They set their office up. They have their setup. Their wives have their own setup. A lot of times their wives have their own little thing, a little hustle they're doing online. They're Filipina or they're Latina, and they're making money. and they're living well, and their wives are great cooks, and they are cooking some amazing food for these guys. All right, they're cooking pork belly. They are cooking some really amazing traditional dishes. They don't have to go to McDonald's. These guys are eating well. All right, they want coconut water. They go to their fucking backyard, grab a coconut. Wife grabs the machete, opens that shit up, gives them a straw. They have fresh coconut water. All right? They are living fucking well. They're eating well. They're living well. And they're not putting up with the stresses of America, of Western society, where greedflation has taken off. Guys, MGTOW lost its way a long time ago. All right? And I'm just calling it out. And these guys are now coming back. They're trying to shut me down, trying to say, like, like I'm ultimate evil. I'm just listening. I'm just living my best life. I'm just here living my best life. All right? I've done nothing wrong. I used to do YouTube streams. I did my streams. Guys would give me money, like guys would, I do my streams and, I'd make a lot of money. Sometimes, I might get $500 in an hour. I might get $5,000 in an hour. Someone might drop me $5,000 in an hour on a YouTube stream. And you had these guys in the community that they were jealous. They were jealous because part of what I do is I'm an entertainer. I know how to entertain people. I know how to engage people. This is a job. I know how to entertain. I know how to engage. I know how to keep people watching, because this is kind of a release for a lot of guys. A lot of guys live very hard lives, very stressful lives. And sometimes I say the things that they're thinking, but I do it in a comedic way. And people can come on here and they can, like, you get off work or or whatever. And you turn on the angry guy and you start listening for a couple of hours, and you get to interact. It's a community. I just work here. And a community builds itself. All right? And I have like 100 different moderators, because they're basically here to keep out the people they don't want there. It's their fucking community. Right? And I just work here. And basically, I work for money. I work for money. And that's it. And that's the honest to goodness truth. And there were so many haters, like Mr. Elite, Hammerhand. You took money from men. Like, what the fuck? Who the hell do you think you are? These men are not babies. Men will give their money to whoever the heck they choose to give their money to. Men would rather burn money, all right, than have other men tell them what to do with their money. I'm just being honest. There are a lot of men who've lost money in crypto, and they don't give a shit, because it was their money to lose, all right? And there are men and then there are these guys who are attacking me over crypto. Get the heck out of here. Everything I've done in crypto has been 100% legitimate. Everything from trading to selling to teaching, because I've taught so many guys about crypto. All right, I ran my academy. A lot of people learned about crypto. So these people are haters, and that's all it really is. Haters are gonna hate, because they're gonna hate on the people who do. Because a lot of these guys, what are they doing? Years later, you can look at guys like Sandman. Sandman has not evolved in years. In years, he's doing the exact same thing he's been doing for years. He puts out a McDonald's MGTOW video every single day, right? I think it's still on a daily basis. And someone gives him a donation. And by the way, some of those videos, he doesn't get a donation on all of those videos. I'm just like telling you his little secret. All right? He'll make up a name. He's like, oh, Todd dropped a donation on this video, and this is the topic he wanted me to talk about. He's a fucking liar. He is fucking lying. He is a liar. All right? But he keeps it going like that, so guys think that he's getting a donation on every single video, so they keep on donating to him. All right? And that's been his hustle. That's been his hustle for the last 8 years. All right? It's like there's like no evolution among a lot of these guys. There has been no evolution. They come on, they complain about women, and they do nothing different. All right? It's just woe is me, my life is miserable, blah 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 blah. I hate everything. And it's funny because now you're gonna have guys like that are gonna come and try to attack my channel right now, right? Because of this guy, Mister um, Old Hammerhand, claiming to be a MGTOW monk, and he's not. I had a friend. I had a friend, a number of what was his name, Traversable, and there were people who actually attacked Traversable because they saw a woman on one of his streams, and they're like, "What are you doing, Traversable, having a woman on your stream?" It was his fucking daughter. It was his fucking daughter. Like Trav was one of the old monks. Trav was one of the old monks. This is a guy who had a son, who had a daughter. His wife had put his son out, and he took his son in and had to provide for his son after his wife put his son out. This is the kind of shit that really happened to a lot of the monks, and why a lot of the monks literally went their own way. And these are not deadbeats. They were still taking care of their kids. They were still watching out for their kids. But a lot of these guys, they ended up in a position where, there's a lot of men who suffered so much in the court system, and something Traversable talked about, that he had a friend who lost everything. His child support was completely taking everything. They took his entire check, and he started asking this guy, like, how are you surviving? Because like he's working at this job, and food starts going missing. This was a good guy originally, but food starts going missing, and like people start looking, like they know that this guy's going through a divorce, so he's like stealing food. He's like stealing food from his coworkers, and the truth of the matter is, like, he's, they know it's him, and they ask him, like, how are you surviving? And like he said to him, I'm going to tell you a secret. Sometimes I steal, and it's terrible, because the system ends up turning good men into scumbags. And I think Trav said the guy ended up living in the woods. It was a terrible story, and then he became like a total scumbag and ended up going off to jail. And you understand how men end up going down these paths, because society literally rips everything away from them. At one point, they were literally talking about passing a resolution in one of these states where they would basically ban men from being able to hunt, renew their hunter's license, unless if they were back on child support, which was absolutely. And then they backed away from it, last I heard, because, for example, if you owe child support, they'll take away your driver's license. You can lose privileges. You can lose your driver's license. You can lose access to a bunch of different things if you owe child support. And they were basically saying, okay, well, you know what? We're going to go after these men's hunting licenses. So, yeah, you can't hunt. We won't let you hunt. We won't let you feed yourself if you owe child support. So they were trying to starve these men. And it was, and there were some people, thankfully, that came to their senses. And they were like, yeah, we're not going to do this, because now we're heading into some really bad territory. Okay? So don't think that I'm a simp and that I don't get it and that I don't understand the suffering that men go through. But regardless of how much men have suffered, this whole notion of hating women and being male separatists, let me tell you something. The world is always going to be a hard place for men. It's never going to be an easy place for men. This luxury of being able to say that I'm going to hide inside is really a luxury that we enjoy in Western civilization. It's only because of Western society and the perception of safety why we live this way. Because it is a cold, hard world out there. And I've warned men for years that shit will hit the fan. There is such a thing as the Great Reset. I'm not making this shit up. You can go online. There's literally a video of world leaders, people like Prince Charles, now King Charles, saying that you will owe nothing and you will be happy. And you have a couple of choices. You can sit there and say that, okay, well, I'm going to separate myself from women and I'm going to be pissed off with women and blah, 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 blah. It won't matter. It won't change anything in your life. You're just wasting fucking time. And once upon a time, MGTOW were men hitting the gym, taking care of their bodies, getting their money right. And what are these men doing today? Just bitching and moaning about women. It's a fucking joke. If you notice the men walking away, the passport bros, those guys that are going overseas and making the move, these men have money. You can't go to the Philippines and find yourself a Filipina and set up a life over there and do these things if you are completely broke. So these men walking away from society, walking away from Western society and Western women, these are men of value. These aren't men with huge pot bellies either. These are men who are fit. They are men who are taking care of their bodies. They are men of that come from things like law enforcement backgrounds, military, lawyers, computer programmers. I mean, you have men from every walk of life that's going over there. You have very, very young men that's going over there. Guys, I've said this before. Right now it's a trend. It's becoming a trend where men are walking away from society, going overseas to go find a wife, to find happiness, to start a life. Trends become normalities, and normalities become traditions. And we're heading to a point where within 10 years, it's going, or less, it will be a tradition for men to go overseas to find a wife or to start a new life outside of the United States, outside of Western societies like the US, like the UK, like Canada. I'll tell you something crazy about the United States and the UK. The United States and the UK are in bed together. They are in 100% bed together. Because when something happens in the UK, we know about it immediately in the United States. Whenever something happens in the UK, they know about it immediately. When something happens in the United States, they know about it immediately in the UK. The United States and the UK are in bed together. All right? Sometimes I watch Just Pearly thing, and she talks about how strange it is, because it's like, even though she's living in the United Kingdom, it's like the exact same as living in the United States. It's like it's the strangest thing. These two countries are in bed together. They they ride together, and they're gonna die together. And I'm telling you all right now, you want to walk away from Western society. You want to walk away from Western society. Western society is a mess. But this notion of men basically saying that, we want to have nothing to do with all women. Are you crazy? Are you insane? Okay, MGTOW was initially a movement, not a movement, a correction, because now they made it into a movement. It was a philosophy with primarily heterosexual men who were attracted to women, but men that said, yeah, it's too hot right now. It's getting too hot. This was before hashtag Me Too came along, but men saw this coming. Men saw hashtag Me Too coming a mile away. They saw it coming. And they said, yeah, you know what? We're getting ahead of this thing. Guys, join MWA. Join MWA, men walking away from Western society and Western women, and finding happiness overseas, finding happiness on their own terms, finding happiness in their own lives. All right? Disengaging from the matrix. That's what men walking away is from. It's not about hating women, but it's realizing that Western society has run its course, just like the Mouse Utopia. The difference with the difference here with American society, with the Western society, is that men can leave Western society and they can get outside of the matrix that way. Because Western society is the matrix. It is 100% the matrix. All right? MGTOW lost its way. MGTOW lost its way a long time ago, and a lot of these guys calling themselves MGTOWs, they're incels. They are 100% incels. Okay? They're an absolute joke. A lot of you guys, you should be working on yourself. You should not be afraid of women. You should be thinking about, if you want a woman, go overseas and get yourself a woman. Go overseas and get yourself a traditional woman. You're a grown-ass man. What do you look like being afraid of a woman? Are you crazy? You're talking about, if you want to talk about what's happening in the West, in Western society, talk about what's happening in Western society. Talk about what's happening with Western women. Do not generalize all women around the world. Female nature is real. It's 100% real. All right? Women are going to be women wherever you go. But don't misunderstand. Western women are a disgrace of the world. They're a complete disgrace of the world. Women around the world look at Western women and they are completely disgusted by their behavior, by their promiscuity, by the bullshit that they're going on with society. And they're saying, oh, you don't want these men? We'll take them happily. Because men are valuable. Men, not only do men provide resources, we provide protection. We provide so much. But Western women, I mean, their DMs are constantly filled up. You know, they constantly have people in their DMs. So what do you expect? Simps. It's because of the simp why so much nonsense has happened in Western society. But guess what? These simps can't hold these women down. They don't have money. They can't. There was this guy named a straight shooter. He said this a number of years ago. He said these simps, they don't have the kind of money to be some woman's come up. It's the honest to goodness truth. They don't have the kind of money. They don't have that kind of money to be some woman's come up. You know, because a lot of these women think they're gonna go and get themselves a simp when everything goes to hell. Nah, like these, like they think they're gonna get themselves a good man. It's not gonna happen. These simps don't have that kind of money to be her come up. You know, it's that's really what it is. You should pity modern women. You should pity these modern day women that have thrown away their sexual marketplace value running around with Chad and Tyrone. Because they don't have many options left. They're going to be disenfranchised. A lot of these women today, more and more of these women are practicing van living. This is not van living, that's homelessness, bro. I'm gonna make, right after this, I'm gonna make a van life video probably, just because I missed those videos. I keep forgetting to do this because like there's some women who are coming out and saying that this is not luxury, this is homeless living. I used to talk about this van life bullshit. I used to say, guys, they are peeing and pooping at the side of the road. And some people were like, oh, this is absolute nonsense. One of them, I think it was Hobo Ali, she tried to call me out like it's a lie. She was like, oh, it's not true, I'm not doing these things, blah blah blah. And then another chick's like, she does, like, she shows off her van, and then dude's like, okay, so where are you going to the bathroom? And she's like, oh, I have a pot. She's like, I have a pot. She's like, I have a pot that I pee in. Like, really? Like, come on, bro, you're peeing and pooping in it. All right, you're peeing and pooping in it, because if you have to poop, either you're gonna poop in it or you're gonna go at the side of the road. This is homelessness. And then you've got other homeless people like trying to look inside and banging on your door. And then the police are coming early in the morning and tell you to move your van, or they're going to move it for you. It's homelessness. Let me tell y'all something that many of y'all don't know. A lot of y'all don't know this. All right. Because I've done homelessness before. 10 years ago, I've done home. Thank God it's been that much time. 10 years ago. I was homeless 10 years ago. Time has flown. 10 years. All right, and I'm going to tell y'all something. Is it 10 or a little over 10? When you're out there, in most places, it is illegal to sleep in your car. If you're living in a van, all right, it's the same exact shit. It is a car. If you park it on the street and you are living in it, they can tell you to move it. All right? If you are living in a van, it's the same shit. It's the same as living in a car. They can tell you to move that shit. It is illegal. It is illegal in most places to live in them. You can go into a campground and try to do something there. All right? But if you're trying to live in your vehicle, right? In some certain places, no. And they will treat you like a homeless person. If you try to like park in Walmart, they will treat you like a homeless person, all right? Because I've been there. I've been treated like a homeless person. This was a long time ago, but I'm telling y'all how it is, all right? If you are living in your fucking car, van life, no, you are homeless. You are fucking homeless. And a lot of these women that are doing this, they are miserable. They are absolutely miserable. They were disillusioned by idiots that set them up to do it. And they are suffering. And they would love to sleep inside. They would love to have a roof over their heads. All right? A lot of women today regret decisions that they made, but unfortunately, you've got this whole girl boss shit happening, and you've got stupid guys who are like engaging into this stuff and actually believing this shit. Most women today would be so happy to have a stable life, but you don't hear about that anymore because of how the media promotes things. Come 2030, 45% of all women will be single. And I suspect that number is going to rise significantly. But 45% of all women between the ages of 25 and 44, a woman's prime reproductive years, so between her prime reproductive years and like the absolute cutoff, those women will be single and childless. 45% of all women will be single and childless. Single and childless come the year 2030. That's only going to rise more and more and more. There are over 7 million men right now who don't even work whatsoever. They have no jobs. None once they've completely dropped out of society. These are men between the ages of 25 and 54. And they completely have stopped working. And then you have tens of millions of other men who only work just enough to survive. Just enough for that PS5. Just enough to cover the cost of their rent. Just enough. They're only doing just the bare minimum, and they are thriving. Because if you don't have a wife, you don't have bills. You really don't have that. If you don't have a wife and you're not trying to, build something. So like, oh, I need to have this great apartment and all that. No, dudes are renting a room. Dudes are renting a room. Renting a room, laying out their television, sleeping on the floor, playing PlayStation, and chilling, and living comfortably with tons of disposable income. And men who want to actually lay down some roots, they're going overseas and getting themselves a Filipina or a Latina, all right, or an Eastern European white girl that still has cultural values that's grateful for a man. All right, I've said this already. You're gonna have it. Women are competing all over the world for Western men right now. Women are competing all over the world for Western men right now, and it's only going to accelerate. You've got women cursing about the passport bros. It's only going to accelerate as men are leaving the West. They're dropping out of society and they're leaving the West. And I talked about this phenomenon years ago, men leaving the West, and we are witnessing it right now. And unfortunately, a lot of these MGTOWs, they're defeatist. They are complete and utter defeatist because they've given up. They have given up this whole notion of male separatism. Separatism? Are you crazy? You sound like a sicko. It's not about separating yourself from women. It's about separating yourself from gynocentrism, from a society that doesn't value you. Okay? It's not about fearing women. And you sure as heck do not promote violence. You do not tell young men to risk their lives over nonsense. Look at what's happening in the United States, where you have all these idiots going out and committing these terrible acts for no reason whatsoever, for nothing. And then you're telling young men about violence, which is what this Hammerhand guy was doing at one point. Get the heck out of here. You should be focusing on preserving your freedom above all else. Jail is cold. You don't want to go to jail. Do not commit acts of violence. Listen to me. Don't harass women online. Don't harass women online. Don't harass women in public. Don't develop this mindset that you want to get even. That's bullshit. All right? Just to disengage. Don't let women in society pull you into nonsense. Don't let them pull you into getting upset. Don't do that. Walk away. You're a fucking man. Your life is worth more. All right? Even though society devalues you, The only reason why society is able to devalue men is because men have been giving away their value so easily. But when men take that back for themselves, that's when society starts saying, oh shit, what do we do? Oh, we have to pay more. Guys, the price is going up. As more men refuse to give their value away so cheaply, you're going to see price going up for everything. The price for a roofer, it's going to be going up. You're going to have roofers making $500,000 a year. A welder, price is going up. You're going to have welders making $150,000, $200,000 a year. I'm not even joking. The price is going up. Sanitation workers, oh, you want me to pick up trash for you? All right, that's going to be $150,000 a year. You want to pick up your garbage? That's going to be $150,000 a year. The price to be a police officer? Oh, you want me to protect your city? Yeah, that's going to be $250K, bro. You want me to put my life on the line for you? No, yeah, man, that's going to be $250K. And if we're talking about state troopers, okay, yeah, that's going to start at $300K, bro. That's going to start at $300K. All right. That's gonna be $300K, bro. I'm not playing around. All right, give me my fucking money. That's really what it's coming down to. Y'all are gonna watch as the cost of male labor skyrockets, and then you've got some of these weak men out here talking shit. All right. Once upon a time, MGTOW was the shit. MGTOW were men who were strong. They were brave. They were came from all walks of life. You had MGTOWs who were running the courts. You had MGTOWs who were running the legal system. You had MGTOWs all over the place. And then it became this group of pissy ass men that are afraid of women. Like, get the fuck out of here. A bunch of male separatists that put themselves on the fucking radar. Absolute stupidity. Absolute stupidity. Guys, if you're tired of MGTOW bullshit, post MWA and men walking away from Western society, Western women, and finding new lives overseas. You know, starting a new life overseas. Or if you're sticking around, you're disengaging. You're doing just as much as you have to survive, and you're thriving for yourself, not for the society that doesn't value you. All right? And you're not promoting hatred of anyone. You're not promoting hatred of women. You're not promoting hate at all. All right? Hate takes way too much fucking work, y'all. You know how much work it takes to actually hate someone? You must be out of your fucking mind. I'm too busy right now. I'm busy getting my money. I'm busy working on myself. Shit. I would rather sleep. I'd rather get some good sleep than waste my time hating someone. And some of y'all are out here with MGTOW with this bullshit hate and worrying about women. These women aren't worrying about you. Male separatist bullshit. I mean, can you imagine that MGTOW now looks like a group of fucking incels? You know, Barbarossa, he is mainly responsible for starting MGTOW 2.0, because back in those days, it was literally just Barbarossa ranting on YouTube. Barbarossa has had a chick for a long time. Barbarossa has had a chick for a long time. He walked away. Barbarossa, Stardust, these guys walked away. All right? And then you have people like saying that TFM and Sandman are real MGTOW. Are you fucking kidding me? These are incels. TFM. This guy makes videos of sex, like reviewing sex toys. He's been doing that for a number of years. These are the kind of the people that MGTOWs are worshiping. Hammerhand, some dude that I believe was behind on his child support. So he's like telling young men, oh, like blah 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 about women, like promoting violence. Like, get the hell out of here. Incel value. Like, no, it's like the incel family tree. Like, a lot of these guys have literally gone down the incel path. They've gone down the incel path. You know? They're freaking jokes. And hold, like Mr. Lee, hold the line. There is no fucking line. There is no fucking line, bro. Every person, you cannot tell men how to go their own way, but that's exactly what ended up happening. MGTOW became a movement. That's what I'm telling y'all. Join men walking away. Men walking away. All right? It's been happening for it's men walking away is the truth, is literally the truth. Just like black men walked away from their communities when when the welfare state hit, started destroying their communities, they walked away. Walk away from Western society. Walk away from all the bullshit, the gynocentrism. Walk away from that shit. Just walk away. All right. Just literally say, "Yeah, I'm gonna go get some milk. I'm going out to get some milk," and never come back. All right. Walk your ass overseas and start a brand new life. Grab your passport. Walk away from the nonsense. Don't let other men tell you how to live your fucking life. I cannot tell you how to live your life. I can't tell you how to live your life. What I can tell you is that you should not sit around hating on anyone. You should not sit around hating on anyone. Men, women, children, anyone. Do not hate. It's a waste of your fucking time. There are people who have wronged me in my life, and they will get what's coming to them. All right? But a hate is only going to eat you alive. And this is coming from the former angry MGTOW. And I'm warning y'all, don't do it. Don't listen to these incels, because that's what they are. MGTOW is just a group. MGTOW very much has become a group of incels. I'm not saying everyone who goes by the label is an incel, but I'm saying that a lot of these guys promoting MGTOW today are incels. All right? Because most men don't have time for that bullshit. And most men are not worrying about women 24/7. Women are not the central focus of their life. I like talking about what's happening in society. I like talking about what's happening to men and what men are going through and how Western women are going to have to deal with the repercussions of their actions. But I don't hate them. I do not hate them whatsoever. And I nor do I fear them. Because there are a lot of MGTOWs today who fear women. And they're like, "Oh, I don't fear them." You absolutely do. If you want to separate yourself from someone, that's fear. That's fear. MGTOW is a male separatist movement. It is a fear-based movement. And what comes from fear? What is born from fear? Hate. And what is born from hate? Suffering. And that's all that MGTOW is today. They want you to suffer alongside of them. Because misery loves company. Let me know what you think in the comments if you agree that MGTOW has lost its way, trying to shut me down, trying to shut me up, because you're afraid of some guy telling the truth. You're afraid of other people hearing what I have to say. Because if people disagree with me, they can disagree with me. They can just walk away. But that's what they do. They try to shut you up because they are afraid of what you have to say. All right? And they make up lies and propaganda and bullshit. And they try to corrupt other men and get other men to go down a violent path. A path of misery. Guys, I'm going to be 40 years old this year. I'm going to be 40 years old. I don't have any fucking kids. I have no fucking kids. I'm warning y'all right now, listening to this shit, listening to this fucking video. Know what you're doing. If you're a man still in your 30s, your early 30s, know what you're doing. Know where this life takes you. I lived that MGTOW life for a long time. This is where it took me. I am almost 40 years old. I have no children. It is one of the biggest regrets of my life that I did not branch out more, that I did not go overseas and have my kids with a Filipina, that I wasted so much time in the United States with putting up with the bullshit. All right? Forget about American women. All right? Because they've already forgotten about you. If you want children, know what you're about. Work on yourself, get your money up, work on your body, go overseas, know the laws in these countries, learn the laws, get a lawyer, set up a prenup, have some kids. Don't bring her back to the United States. All right? Life is never going to be perfect. Some of y'all are looking for perfect lives. It's not going to happen. All right? You have to be adaptable, but know what you're doing. Because I'm going to be 40 years old. I don't have any kids. And by the time that I possibly have kids, you know, I want to be a man that's like running around. I'll be 60 years old with teenagers if I'm lucky. 60 years old with teenagers. That fucking sucks. Having teenagers at 60. And I have to be grateful. I have to be grateful because there's a lot of men who are just starting their lives at 60. There's a lot of men today that are just starting their lives at 60. At 60. So I have to be grateful. But I'm telling y'all, young men, know what you're about with this MGTOW bullshit. Don't let these old men lead you astray. A lot of these motherfuckers already have their kids. Hammerhand. These motherfuckers, they already have their kids. They're just fucking bitter. They're old and they're bitter. And they want to bring you down with them. Let me know what you think in the comments if you agree that MGTOW has lost its way. Go MWA, men walking away from Western societies, Western women, Western society and Western women. All right? Guys, if you have a topic you want me to cover, you know how it is. Check out the description of the video to let me know what the topic is that you want me to cover and how to reach me. If you want to promote if you want to show some love for what I'm doing, you can drop me some cash by Cash App, Venmo, or PayPal. All links are in the description of the video. You can also find me over on patreon.com/angryguy, where I drop bonus videos, and you can find out all the different things that I'm up to, what I'm working on. And like I said, there's some stuff on there that's also I can't put on YouTube. So like I can really express myself fully over there. You know, check that out, patreon.com/angryguy. You want to support the work I'm doing here. You want to support MWA, take MWA, type #MWA, put that in your videos, roll with that. All right. Men walking away. Like, share, and subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away. And cheers.